Alright, so ahoy bitches and bros and non-binary hoes. I talked about my top 5 favorite movies of the year. Now it's time to talk about my least favorite movies of the year. Yeah, let's just get into it. So, there were a ton of movies that came out this year, and like I said before, I haven't seen all of them. So, yes, I'm sure Borderlands is a terrible movie, because the games already suck as it is. So, yeah, if I saw it, it'd be on here. And I'm sure Craven the Hunter is bad too, because every fucking movie Sony makes right now is terrible. So yeah, I'm sure that'd be on here, along with like 90% of the horror movies and Netflix slop that's come out, because yeah, most of it's bad. But I didn't see most of it. You understand, I'm at the point in my life where I don't have much time. If I see a movie that looks like total shit that I'm not vaguely interested in, so I just check out, alright? I just don't bother. But I did see plenty of crap this year, so here's some honorable, or in this case, dishonorable mentions. Netflix released 3 stinkers this year that I didn't like. Carry On, Don't Move, and Damsel. All these movies suck fucking butt cheeks. I don't like any of them, and they're all bad. Ghostbusters The Frozen Empire didn't give me any hope for this franchise at all. It super sucks. And finally, Godzilla Kong the New Empire. I'm sorry. I just didn't like this movie. This movie's made me give up hope on the MonsterVerse. Man, just give me fucking Japanese-made Godzilla movies. Like, that's all I want. I want more stuff like Godzilla -1. Because this shit is ass. So, my number 5 worst movie of the year. I think Hollywood got a big lesson this year. No matter how many stars you put in your movie, star power is not everything now. Star power is honestly kind of nothing now, because Red One is fucking terrible, and yet it has all these great talented actors in it. Well, except for one. Yeah, this movie's bad. I saw the trailer, and I immediately thought Netflix quality, and shockingly, it's not. It's like an MGM production they put $200 million into. Why? This movie sucks. It has like the most formulaic fucking AI generated ass story. You're gonna hear me say that word a lot because, God, some of these movies just feel AI generated. And this one does. It follows, I don't even remember. I saw it a few days ago and I already forgot it. It's so incredibly just bleh. It's so mid that it's just so forgettable. It just follows like a group of like secret Santa agents trying to save Santa Claus. Yeah, it's fucking stupid. It's just boring garbage. It's just a lot of boring filmmaking, boring action, boring characters, boring acting. It seems like nobody gives a shit. It has like, it's just so cookie cutter boring. I saw a comment that summed this movie best. This is a movie you put on in the background of you doing house chores. And I think that's kind of a terrible fate to have. Those are for either movies you've seen before and you just have it as comfort, or you just put it on as noise. That's the best way I can describe this movie. Chris Evans, man. You gotta start being in good movies again. I don't think the last good thing I've seen him in is like Knives Out and Captain America. And that was like before COVID. Like, come on, man. You need to get a better agent or something. And The Rock. I am so goddamn tired of The Rock acting in movies. He really needs to fuck off. Seriously, he just needs to just focus on WWE. I get that his body may not be there anymore. And I get that he makes more money doing these shit-ass movies, but I actually really do enjoy his work in the WWE right now as the final boss. I think he's crushing it there. But God, he makes so much time for these shit-ass movies. And he sucks in them. Anyway, this movie sucked. I'm done talking about it. Number 4. So imagine you put 50 Shades of Grey with Detroit Become Human, the video game. You get Subservience, a kind of 50 Shades movie, but with Android. I say that lightly because it's not really. It like the trailers and all that made it seem like it would be, but it's not. It's just actually a really fucking snooze fest of a movie. And this movie, the guy, I don't even remember his name, but the dude that was in 365 Days, he plays a husband. His wife is in the hospital after heart surgery. They have a child. and he straight up buys an android just so, and the android happens to be Megan Fox, who I will admit is actually good in this movie. She plays an android very well. She's like the only somewhat redeeming part of it. But yeah, he buys this android to do all the household chores. I'm literally not fucking joking. This is like the laziest main character I've ever seen in a movie. Anyway, so that happens, and the android like falls in love with him and like wants to fuck him. And that's literally the whole movie. It's just them being like, no, we can't. And it gets boring after like 30 minutes. It's just such a fucking boring movie. I feel like there's nothing to talk about here. It's just it does have an interesting premise. If this was just like 50 Shades, just straight up smut, and it was just like these two just going at it for the whole movie, I wouldn't even bother putting it on here. Cause like, yeah, the 50 Shades movies, you know, they're not the best, but they're basically just porn. So would I really put a porn in the top 5 worst? It's doing its job. This movie is not doing any job. It's not a good movie, and it's not good smut. It is just not good at anything. Everything sucks. It's just boring to look at. The acting's bad. The story is just super sucky. This movie literally just happens because the main character is just lazy and doesn't want to do the household chores. That's literally it. And the final act is just hilarious. It straight up turns into like Terminator. And it's awful. Yeah, this movie fucking sucks. I guess you'd only watch it just to see Megan Fox. I can't say I blame you, but she's honestly been in better movies. Number 3, so man, Hollywood got taught another lesson this year, is that you cannot rely on IPs to be financially successful. Yeah, the first one may have made $1 billion, but the second one ain't even gonna make half of that. And of course, I'm talking about Joker 2. Wow, I didn't think we needed to even make the sequel, but for some reason they just had to shit this out, and it's awful. It has so many things I dislike about movies today. One, it's pointless. There's nothing to go on here. The story is literally just Arthur's in Arkham, he meets Harley, they sing and dance, there's a court trial, and it's the most useless court trial ever because he fucking shot someone on live TV. Of course they're gonna send him into the slammer for life. And that's it. And it's just 2 hours of just them doing nonsense and just singing. And the singing is terrible. I've made it very clear I don't like musicals. But God, I just do not really I really hate bad musicals. And this is a terrible musical. None of the songs stick out. They're all licensed songs you've probably heard of. There's just nothing here that makes an engaging movie. In fact, it makes it worse. It's just painful to watch. This movie literally offers nothing except just a glorified recap of the first one. And it ends in such an insulting way to try and tie into the overall DC universe that pretty much most people will just find it offensive to their fucking psyche. Just a terrible, pointless movie that didn't need to happen. Joker, the first one, could have just been a nice standalone little DC project. It just could have been on its own. It wrapped itself up perfectly. Didn't need any sequel at all, but of course, because it's Warner Brothers, they just gave this movie like $200 million, and it didn't even make that money back. Just an embarrassment of a fucking movie, man. Number 2, oh look, another terrible IP. Madam Web. Man, this movie fucking sucks, man. I am honestly convinced this movie is AI generated, because no human would actually write this and think this is good. Actually, maybe Sony would, I don't know. But yeah, this movie fucking sucks. Terrible story. It doesn't make any sense. It's not even so bad, it's funny, which I think is the worst kind of bad movie you can be. Terrible characters. They all suck. They're all poorly written. Has one of the worst superhero movie villains I've ever seen. Just terrible dialogue, terrible fucking acting. But I can't say I blame all the actors when this is the material they're given. It's trash. It is straight doo-doo. This movie just fucking, it sucks at everything. Everything you've heard about this movie is true. It just fucking sucks ass. I don't know why Sony would thought this would be a good idea. I don't really want to go on a tangent on how Sony is misusing Spider-Man, because I can fucking rant for days on end how terrible they are to Spider-Man, but I'll just say it in a few words. They have quite possibly the most popular character in all of pop culture history. Think of the many characters you recognize. Spider-Man, you can show Spider-Man to a fucking African civilization that's never even seen technology in their life, and they'd be like, oh yeah, that is Spider-Man. That is how popular he is. And yet, Sony just wastes him away. They have no idea what to do with him, which is so weird because they can also make the great games like Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, and also Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, but they don't know what to do live action wise. They just don't know what to do. And we recently just found out that I was under the suspicion that maybe they just couldn't use him live action because of, Tom Holland being in the MCU. But no, they could have this whole time. They just chose not to. Do you realize how much cool shit they could have been making instead of this garbage? Oh, I don't know. Spider-Man 4 with Tobey. Spider-Man 3 with Andrew. I know people have been begging for that. Or just something else. A Miles movie, a Gwen movie, a Miguel movie. Something other than this fucking trash they keep putting out that doesn't even make any money anyway. This movie bombed. And Craven bombed too. Alright, that's it. I can go on for days on end about Sony and Spider-Man. I feel very strongly about it, but I'll just save it at that. They're just mishandling this IP so much that I wish I would rather just sell it to Disney at this point. That is how bad they're mishandling it, and this movie is a clear example of it. My number one, I bet you a lot of you thought Madam Web would be number one, but no. Around the same time, possibly, there was another one that stuck out like a sore thumb to me. And this one hurts especially because I'm a big fan of the first movie. I love it so much. But goddamn, I waited years for a sequel, and this is what I get. A Peacock original with some of the most terrible animation I've ever seen. Anyway, I'll just cut to it. It's Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate is my worst movie of the year. I fucking hated this thing. Against my own better judgment, I just gave it a try. I gave it a try. It sucks. You know a movie's bad when we know an animated movie's bad is when the original voice actors don't even return. Will Ferrell's not in this. Tina Fey's not in it. Brad Pitt's not in it. David Cross is not in it. No one's in it. I have a feeling they just went up to a boardroom and like, oh, we need a Peacock original. Megamind, here, just make this. I'll just give it to AI because I'm so confident this movie is AI generated because or the people who wrote it didn't even watch the first one because I'm gonna spoil something for you. One, I do not know what happens in the last 30 minutes. But like, what? Is the last 30 minutes gonna be like the fucking Godfather of quality? Like, I really doubt it's gonna change my mind. Anyway, at the very end, they reveal Megamind's creator is coming. When in the first one, it was established that he was just a product of his environment. He wasn't like created by one fucking guy. It was literally just the prisoners around him inspired him to be a bad guy. So yeah, what gives with that? But anyway, this movie sucks. The writing's terrible. It's basically child slop for them to have in the background. The animation is awful. It's terrible. I don't like why. Do you guys have eyes? Because this looks awful. It's amazing. A movie from like 10 years ago now. No, 15 years ago now. Looks so much better than this. That is laughable. People have been begging for a Megamind sequel, and this is what you give us? So yeah, and I bet you they shot this out thinking, oh, the Megamind fans are going to be so happy. We're going to get all the viewers when nobody except schmucks like me are talking about it. I feel this movie is like a big example of just because you have a successful movie doesn't mean the second one is gonna be as successful. Man, DreamWorks is such an inconsistent company. They can drop bangers like Shrek, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, and The Wild Robot, which is one of my favorite movies of the year. And they can also drop this. Crazy. Crazy. Anyway, that is it. Those are my biggest piles of shit I saw this year. I really wish I could unsee them all, but those were it. So yeah. Those were the ones. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you haven't seen it, I posted my best movies of the year. So go check that out if you want to hear about some good shit. And yeah, that's it guys. I'll see you guys later.